Come on. Yep. Yep. I'm gonna kill. Warning, the following video you are about to watch contains a grown man excitedly extolling the questionable merit of games made for children. The words used should not be repeated by anybody and should be taken with a grain of salty salt unless you plan on regressing into the mind of a YouTuber upset at modern gaming for not making you hard anymore. Viewer discretion is a toilet. You can make your own decisions. Aaron, Brian, Carter, ellipses. Turn that rotten eggplant into a throbbing cucumber. We're talking about ball games. A natural evolution of the games of kickball and foursquare played on the blacktop asphalt, transmogrified into the den of a socially awkward savant speedrunner whose only method of communication to the outside world is the Twitch chat, and their own private Discord channels unlocked through Patreon. Don't be intimidated though. You don't need to be a world-class Chad finding obscure level skips to enjoy the flow state. Take a ball, roll it around, write some instructions around it. You got a ball game. Put a monkey in the ball, make the ball bigger, trigger the fuck out of your player base. Even better! There are no rules as long as this thing has one side and consistent physics. A game with such a simple premise opens the door for some of the most creative presentation ever seen in game development. What we're looking for is that feeling of fairness, that every failure is on you, idiot, and a game that offers a linear path to improvement. How much simpler can it get than getting better at getting the ball from point A to point B? It's Nirvana in gaming, offering genuine satisfaction for your accomplishments and challenging you right away. Today we're celebrating the highs and lows of the beloved ball game. Somewhat plagued with, but also not all of the issues with modern gaming as a whole, ball games remain a bit overlooked. In some ways, this will be a measured catharsis for ball game publishers squandering beloved IP and refined experiences, but it's also a love letter to the monkey targets, the marble mazes, the inherent form of a ball's authenticity being brought into question by flat earthers smoking crack, you name it. Not just any slapdick developer can enable physics on a Unity asset and call it done though, no. Releasing a ball game requires a specific talent and passion, not knowing what the fuck to do with the future of your own franchise. If you make a ball game beloved enough, you could have a serious opportunity on your hands. But wait, before you go off and iterate on the core fundamentals of what people loved about your innovative creation, you need to huff some paint, bash your head in repeatedly on a streetlight, and walk into traffic, because the most important thing about making a ball game franchise is immediately obliterating it. The endless frustration of loving these games is that the care and love for the original experiences always seems to be disregarded in the sequels in favor of adding superficial elements like stories or input gimmicks. Not to say there aren't innovative ways to take advantages of those elements, but the cavemen eating rocks at Sega sure as fuck didn't know what the fuck to do with Super Monkey Ball after the first game. Talking about ball games means simultaneously talking about wasted potential. With that, and with a dash of love and verbal abuse, we're gonna take a complete look at the history of all the ball games ever made that I felt like Googling. Pitz! The first ball game! Developed by Mesoamerican Games and published by the Mayans in the year 2500 BC, otherwise known as, The goal of the game was similar to racquetball, but rather than using a racket to strike a ball to keep it in play, these absolute units just smacked these nearly 9-pound rubber balls with their hips. Sometimes they used their thighs, wooden sticks, stone mittens, or even their fucking forearms. Imagine a volleyball court with walls on either side with these ornate rings high up in the middle with a small opening. You could win the game on points alone, volleying the ball back and forth in the ball court, but rarely a team put a ball through the ring mid-volley. That meant instant victory, and because human sacrifice was so fetched before Christ, it also meant untimely death for the total dorks who lost. If you've ever seen the postmodern art house avant-garde animated movie El Dorado, you've seen the sport in action. Two teams comprised of 5 to 8 players scoring points trying to keep the ball in play, not unlike tennis. Your team scored points if the other team couldn't return the ball or knocked it out of bounds. If your hips were particularly incapable of lying that day, you could rocket the ball into an end zone past the normal field of play for a motherfucking touchdown. Cheeseheads don't even know that they owe their overrated football franchise to the fucking Mayans. If you were feeling like super duper not being sacrificed, you trigger an instant win condition if you knock the ball through the small rings on the side walls of the ball court, like I said earlier. This almost never happened though. This game manifested itself in numerous variations, such as wide courts similar to soccer, or narrower courts reminiscent of something like volleyball. Some versions called the ball live so long as it didn't touch the ground, and some versions called the ball dead when it altogether stops moving. A spectator sport for the noble class, it was rife with symbology. Pitz matches marked the beginning of ancient religious celestial cycles and battles amongst the gods, was even considered a proxy for actual warfare, and was the origin of the best thing to ever happen to mankind, sports gambling. That's right, DraftKings. You owe your miserable and incessant ads to the first ball game ever made. Now please promptly go lose a game of Pitz. This sport illustrates just how simple making a great game actually is. We are still talking about this sport almost 5,000 fucking years later because some people took a round object and created a collection of rules around it. People flying waifu-wrapped spaceships in the future will be doing the same fucking thing, creating a fun core asset and programming rules around it, and then jerking off on it. Creating a ball game is innately human. There's infinite possibilities, and anyone can do it. Bonus points if you can do it without killing anybody. Seriously, Mayans, what the fuck? After Pitz, no further ball games were made or developed until a chipmunk-looking freak at Atari named Mark Cerny wanted to make a game about his little marbles. Marble Madness was made for arcades in 1984 and is one of the most fucking frustrating pieces of shit! A true technical marvel of the time. The player used a trackball to roll the marble in the direction they wanted to go, avoiding obstacles and getting to the end of the maze as fast as possible for those slick-ass, radical 80s high scores. A pure, simple premise that, according to Mark Cerny, was inspired in part by mini-golf. A timeless classic that didn't even need to have more than just 6 levels to have a cultural impact, even though it imprinted on the subconscious of physics majors that skipped class to write shit prog metal songs using the words centripetal force. The original game was a bit cumbersome to control by today's standards. It's not that complicated, roll the trackball in the direction you want to move, but I've played the original game in arcades and the trackball control is built around the concept of hopeless, desperate prayer. You feel like a dog pawing at a controller trying to play Halo with inverted controls, drunk and chugging thick yogurt. I'm sure these cabinets haven't aged gracefully and maybe these trackballs degrade, but damn, it felt like a feat to beat the second level. Developed just 1 year after the great video game crash of 1983, Marble Madness stood as a beacon for game designers not wishing to sink to the lows of those who caused it. Focusing on innovation and unique experiences after the crash, Atari was only focused on quality to get those ungrateful little shits to spend their parents' hard-earned money. Yeah, Timmy, I didn't inhale asbestos for nothing. A great example of the use of what I'd call crafted minimalism, unintuitively attempting to maximize the amount of fun that can be mined from the limited mechanics. It was the first game at Atari to use the programming language C, instead of the unreadable, obtuse, although admittedly efficient assembly language that weirdly only the dude who made Roller Coaster Tycoon got any fucking credit for using, and one of the first to use true stereo sound, just like those Beatles records that sound fucking goddamn annoying as shit. Fuck, stop panning everything to the left, John Lennon. Ooh, look at me, I'm the Beatles. I know how to use a panning log. Like, just fuck off. No one even liked all of your platinum best-selling beloved albums. People couldn't get enough of Mark Cerny's balls, and everyone was clamoring for a sequel. The game only had 6 stages after all. The trippy isometric graphics couldn't carry this game forever. After waiting, and waiting some more, every Marble Madness fan was finally able to play the majestic Marble Madness 2, after some dude named Dank dumped the ROM files 38 years later. You see, Atari never sold or released Marble Madness 2 to the public. Atari effectively finished the game, but test audiences responded negatively to it. They added multiplayer, power-ups, and even experimented with a new joystick input method, foregoing the previous trackball, but people ultimately concluded it was shit, because it was, so they said fuck it, better to just shred the existing cabinets, write it off on our taxes, and release Guardians of the Hood instead, otherwise known as the greatest video game ever made. Mark Cerny was actually uninvolved in the sequel, and things got a little goofy. Atari created the mascot Marble Man to better market the game to kids, but he wasn't a playable character in Street Fighter II, the game everyone was playing in the 80s, so no one cared. They even gave the various marble power-ups their own character names, like Thanks, the medium-sized non-polygon's name is Nabi. Why did they do this? Why did they do this to me? I'm so alone. Obtaining unreleased media is a natural goal for preservationists. All Things Lost released a great video about the history, tracking down, and eventual dumping of this game, so go check that out. Seriously, it's fascinating. Scott Evans was the main character in the hunt for Marble Madness 2, cobbling together various components and circuitry until he eventually constructed a fully working and playable cabinet for Marble Madness 2. Countless people on internet forums discussed how Scott should dump the game's ROM to the internet so it could be archived, but ultimately he didn't do it because he doesn't know how to read. That, or he's too busy playing this shit game. Marble Madness 2 was eventually dumped on the Internet Archive by user Dank2079, and everyone found out that upon its dumping, to use an AVGN adage, that's exactly what it was. A dump of poop and crap. Atari had no fucking idea what they had with the first game. They were absolutely in the right for not releasing this mess. The only positive mark Marble Madness 2 left on the world is the sheer amount of semen everyone unleashed after they saw the Marble Madness 2 page finally updated on lostmediawiki.com. Not knowing how to capitalize on the relevance or the giant fuck pile of money the first game made, Atari waited not 1, not 2, not 2.5, not 2 3/4, but 7 years to even plan the sequel. Marble Madness was released in 1984, and Marble Madness 2 had finished prototypes in 1991. There was an ocean of innovation and market shifts that happened during that period of time. The NES and SNES were both launched in America during that gap. Instead of remodeling the house, honoring the bones of something great, and adding a tasteful BDSM kill dungeon, Atari just spent 7 years installing carpet directly over the hardwood floor and random stained glass in the garage. Wasting the potential to create a timeless franchise, they let it rot and buried it. Publishers think they need all these flashy flares and fucking tassels to sell a ball game because the premise is too simple and people will be bored. Ugh, little babies. People speedrun individual levels for the worst Mario game in the series all day on Twitch because it feels satisfying to play. A good ball game excels at feel and direct feedback. All it needs is a focus on the fundamentals. Marble Madness 2 didn't do that well after the acceptable period of time to capitalize on the success of the first game, just like my YouTube channel, and the franchise consists of one legendary game, realizing the absolute minimum of potential. In stark contrast, with maximum potential realized, about 1 billion developers without a creative bone in their fucking body made pinball video games. Primitive, unfun, and the definition of a time waster, just like the real game. Pinball games are technically ball games, in the sense that Disney adults are technically human beings, though they're culturally irrelevant and rightfully disregarded boring quarter munchers. Do I hate them? Yes. Are there any pinball games I like? Sure. Space Cadet Pinball. Is it outdated? Yeah. Does it hold up today? Not a chance. Did I play it as a child on Windows XP? Yeah. A new, better challenger approaches. On the future of the new. Marble Blast Gold, developed by Garage Games, wormed its way onto Mac computers in 2002 as a pre-installed value add. Take Marble Madness, make it 3D, you get Marble Blast Gold. With more freedom in physics, this game tastefully and successfully introduces power-ups as a core mechanic to the dismay of Marble Madness 2. I remember playing this game in our Mac-based computer lab back in elementary school when I wasn't eating cheeseburgers that were heated up in a plastic bag, or square pizza served in an oblong paper boat tray, or getting paid $2 to snort nuclear rainbow fun dip. When a ball game works, it sure feels timeless. Going back and playing this game today offers more genuine satisfaction and engagement from me than getting spawn camped by a self-appointed battle pass aficionado named XX I Heart Grandma Wiener XX, and that dude's my best friend. Marble Blast Gold is a great ball game because it's simple. Its physics were refined until they were fun because that's all that mattered here. The stages are easy to grasp, and the main draw of the entire package, like any good ball game, is highlighting your own improvement. You're going to fail, and that's okay, little buddy, old pal, old friend, old bitch. Focus. Improve. Scream. Improve. Fail. Scream again. Improve. The formula for a good ball game was never a secret, as this game just took what worked about Marble Madness and ran with it. Get your ball to the end of the stage. That's it. There's gonna be jumps, platforms, bridges, and a few fun gimmicks along the way. And goddammit if that isn't a simple summary, but this is a pure experience through and through. The community is still quite attached to this game. There's fan-made expansions and even a website that gets regular updates discussing the game. Marble Blast Gold laid a foundation, and when a foundation is laid for a good ball game franchise, watch out, because that means someone close by is sniffing bath salts and jerking off on a runaway bulldozer. Garage Games saw this unhinged but very inevitable threat on the horizon and created a temporary moat in the form of a sequel. Marble Blast! Released in 2006 for the Xbox Live Arcade on the Xbox 360. Just the Xbox 360. Fuck you, you stupid fuck. Odd, as Marble Blast Gold had Mac and PC versions before getting a port on the OG Xbox. Keep your eyes on the bulldozer, Garage Games. It's always coming for the balls, don't forget that. We got better graphics, but it's pretty much the same game. We get some new stages, a couple new power-ups, sure, but a lot of these levels are ported straight from the first game. It's probably the entry most people remember or think of when I say Marble Blast. It's tough to say if that's because of the obligatory tacked-on multiplayer mode, a requirement for any second game in a ball game franchise, just like it's a requirement for your second marriage to have a tacked-on stepchild that you secretly hate, but begrudgingly co-sign the college loan that they piss away in the second year after getting a DUI after failing to get laid at the frat party everyone got laid at, even the kid holding a bent spoon reciting every line of dialogue from Shadow the Hedgehog, coughing uncomfortably too much and feeling his pants pockets to confirm that he still has his expired condom that he bought as a dare 6 years ago with his friends at a CVS in Cincinnati, Ohio on January 3rd, 19... A market success by any definition, selling over 750,000 copies. Marble Blast is not particularly earth-shattering, but for some it's the only ball game they remember, and that's because it's a complete and deeply satisfying experience.
People want a good ball game. People want a simple ball game. People will pay for a simple and good ball game.
So, where's that bulldozer we talked about? He's still on his way, right? Yep. Here he comes. Furiously jerking off. In a bizarre twist of fate, the game was delisted. No one could purchase the game at all. It's not exactly clear what happened because Googling Garage Games reveals a confusing series of different acquisitions, mergers, and holding companies. At some point, Garage Games was renamed to Instant Action or something. Who the fuck knows? The company was shut down and all their IP was sold off, including their own in-house engine, the Torque engine. At some point, Garage Games was relaunched under a different holding company and reacquired the rights to their own Torque game engine, but not their intellectual properties, including the Marble Blast series. And that was it. With 2 successful and memorable ball games, Marble Blast was also left to rot. It wouldn't be a fucking ball game if it wasn't a complete shit show by the end. But while the confusing corporate reshuffling is a disappointing end for the Marble Blast series, that's not where the story ends. Thank fucking Christ. Developers and staff from Garage Games formed a collective of sorts. The Marble Collective launched Marble It Up for the Nintendo Switch in 2018. Keeping in theme with Garage Games' demise, it's not clear which one fucking studio acts as vanguard for the franchise. Is it Bad Habit Productions? Is it Marble It Up LLC? Who the fuck knows and who the fuck cares? All I know is this is a fucking ball game! Shit! Just fucking needed one! Just one ball game! Fuck! Re-released in 2023 for the Xbox with extra content as Marble It Up Ultra, the game has a metric assload of stages ready for you to obsessively perfect. This isn't just a faithful reimagining, the stages are bigger in scope than before and the physics are noticeably different. Jumping and turning, you'll notice that this marble is a lot heavier than before. Chaining your jumps together, as in hopping right when you landed from another hop, turns this game into a fucking NASCAR track. Some stages are so fucking fast it just eviscerates any sense of speed from the other games.
It's good, but to be clear, it also makes me want to call the cops.
The unhinged, manic state after continually grappling with the physics, speed, and repetitive deaths just to get that diamond medal matches what I would assume to be pure schizophrenia. Don't play some of these stages nearby any loved ones, especially the last stage. A 5-minute marathon of every weird trick with 0 room for error. It can feel like constantly getting ejected out of a fighter pilot into a boiling lake of hydrogen bombs. The rage and adrenaline is so fucking palpable. The rage stage is an inherent stage in mastering a ball game, much like the stages of grief. After rage comes depression that you'll never improve, and after depression comes alcoholism, and after alcoholism comes the intensive care unit, and after the intensive care unit comes rekindling the bond with your family and prioritizing your health, and after that comes improvement in your little ball game. Marble It Up Ultra may not be better than Marble Blast Ultra, as the controls and stages in that game are a little tighter, but it sure is a big celebration of ball games. I really hope to see another, as I refuse to play the challenge stages because the voices won't stop! After your Marble Madnesses and your Marble Blasts, you might be thinking, why the fuck is this guy so obsessed with marbles? Aren't there more ball games that don't have a marble in the title? A new challenger approaches with a large inappropriate girth. Dop, da 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 da. Katamari Damacy or Damacy or whatever the hell, rocketed onto the sizzling Rafflecopter WTF BBQ of a console, the PS2 in 2004. It is, without a doubt, one of the most creative and downright joyful experiences I've ever had the pleasure of playing. Designed and created by Kita Takahashi, he was inspired by the Japanese schoolyard ball game Tamakoragashi, where kids would try to roll a giant ball into a goal. Katamari was actually envisioned after his initial idea for a prince with a hammer-shaped head to stun humans and attach a fucking steering wheel to them to literally drive them like some sort of Twisted Metal fever dream. So this dude has some serious mental and creative chops. I'd love to see what kind of idea he'd have for overhauling a rigid and restrictive two-party system of government. The goal of Katamari is to roll a ball, or or Katamari, into objects small enough to ultimately balloon big enough to roll into even bigger objects. In one level, you'll be rolling up fish to eventually rolling up entire islands. Not to mention that this game has one of the best and most satisfying credit scenes I've ever seen, where you roll up the Earth's actual continents. It also has one of the absolute most based soundtracks. The crustiest crust punks fuck to this soundtrack. It's not a very long game, and you can likely finish it in one setting, but my god, this has to be one of the most inventive and original ball games to date. The presentation is just mesmerizing. You play as the prince, the son of the king of all cosmos, who is an unhinged, eccentric, and flamboyant maniac. He literally gets so drunk that he destroys all the stars in the galaxy, and his plan to fix it is to send you down to Earth with these Katamari balls to roll them into a big enough material to create stars. The father-son dynamic is downright hilarious, and the plot is so nonsensical that it's actually quite wholesome. I love a great game that also doesn't take itself too seriously, yet it weirdly sells its premise as so complete and realize that you get sucked in and wish these things were actually happening. I really want to save the world by rolling up my Katamaris. I really want to roll these people up. They're safe. They're definitely safe in my Katamari. Pretty Katamari. Full speed trauma Katamari. The best stages in the game are those where the only goal is to roll up the largest ball you possibly can with no restrictions. Some stages have specific goals like rolling up a certain number of objects. Each stage is a dopamine hit though. It's really refreshing to experience a game that has absolutely no bad stages. Oh. I'm sorry, fuck these stages. In the bear and cow stages, the goal is to not roll up any bears or cows in their respective levels. Only problem is that even something vaguely referencing a cow or bear is equivalent to a cow or bear. There are cow and bear fish, cow and bear street signs, objects covered in cow spots, you name it. The average playtime of either of these stages is about 1 second, because the first fucking thing you're going to roll into is cow or bear stickers, next to the cow and bear trash can, outside of the Cow and Bear Museum. Those two stages aside, Katamari Damacy is a wonderful experience that everyone should play. It's whimsical, funny, and even the foreign word that everyone has forgotten about in today's era of modern gaming, fun. So what did Namco do about the bulldozer? Luckily, they were equipped with some napalm. We love Katamari. Released just 1 year later for the PS2 and is a self-referential love letter to the first game with a ton of unique and fun stages building off of the formula of the first game. The entire game is framed around these obsessed Katamari Damacy fans that want the prince to just keep rolling up stars. The king of all cosmos has let the fame get to his head, and he's completely unimpressed with everything. It's hilarious, and We Love Katamari is the perfect sequel. The gameplay is better, the stage design is better, the satisfaction of rolling up tons of objects back to back creating a sound more iconic to me than the Call of Duty hit marker sound. It's a fully realized sequel. Amazing that they turned it around in only 1 year. There's even a water stage that isn't complete horse shit. Go figure. The more rigid and restrictive stages are a total blast, unlike the first game's bear and cow stages, and it's quite a bit longer. Namco knew people wanted more Katamari, and gave it to them, unlike Atari. This sequel ranks above the first game among many fans, showing that this is kind of a first for a ball game. Namco was the first to stall the bulldozer, but we all know the bulldozer can't be stopped forever. The 7th generation of consoles, the HD era, was released with the Xbox 360 and PS3, and everyone was chugging Mountain Dew, waiting for Halo 3, or for anything to release on the PS3. So Namco was plugging away on a sequel to We Love Katamari for Sony's console. I don't know why I read that like a eulogy, but I think I'm gonna keep it in. They ripped open their PS3 dev kits, saw the complicated architecture of the cell processor, got tired of trying to write Hello World using the 600 unique co-processors, and immediately called Microsoft to buy some 360 dev kits. Beautiful Katamari was released for the Xbox 360, and not the PS3, in October 2007, the same year as Halo 3. Luckily, they got it out the door before that though, right? No. Admittedly, I never played this game as a kid because I was too busy playing the Orange Box, Halo 3, and Call on Duty 4. I'm willing to bet a lot of kids who enjoyed the first game would admit the same thing. By all means though, it's a good ball game. From what I can gather, it's a little too short and doesn't really do much to add to the formula of the first two games. It's all new content, but I think Namco just rushed to get something out the door on the new generation of consoles as quickly as possible. I'm sure Sony diehards were a bit confused Namco jumped ship to the 360, but they didn't have to wait an absurdly long time to get their own Katamari. Katamari Forever Forever was released on the PS3 in 2009 after Namco finally figured out how to code for the cell architecture. I can only assume that they didn't fully figure it out though, as they left a hideous and disgusting filter effect on the entire game from the photo booth app from a 2006 iMac. They made 3 new stages and compiled a bunch of stages from all 3 previous games and said, here you go, idiot. Sorry you have to look at this. A half-deflated pyramid of a ball. This one was farted out with not too much thought. It wasn't released on the 360 either, like some kind of awkward game of ping pong between separated parents trying to make out with the most money in divorce court. A compilation game acting as a pseudo remaster for previous games is not inherently a bad idea. However, I can't forgive this art style. And this is where the bulldozer overcame the napalm and finally rammed the house. After Katamari Forever, there were no more new mainline Katamari games to speak of. They got a PS Vita game, but that's precisely all that's worth mentioning about that game. Namco basically, for all intents and purposes, abandoned the series. That is until Katamari Damacy Reroll launched for the Switch, PS4, and Xbox One in 2018 and cured cancer, made everyone's dicks bigger, and just fucking fixed everything! It's just a remaster of the first game, but a relatively incompetent one. The only thing they did was slap a resolution upgrade on it. There's nothing fancy going on here. It's nearly a straight port. There's not even an autosave feature, and it still runs at 30 frames per second. Why? Nevertheless, I bought it, and I had a ton of fun replaying it. I could only assume this was a low-budget test to see if people were still interested in the series. I also assume it performed at least slightly well, as there was another remaster for We Love Katamari that released in 2023. Rummaging through the rubble, napalm, and masturbating bulldozer operator, we finally get the perfect Katamari game, running at 60 FPS, beautiful 4K, and even sexy autosave. It is a definitive ball game experience, so I'm very excited to see this franchise continue to blossom after its hiatus. Maybe they can even save the house this time. A first for any Bulldoze ball game franchise. Go buy this game immediately. I want to go deeper. I am a ball game aficionado. I want the perfect ball game. Marble Madness? Yeah, that one was good. Marble Blast? Yeah, pretty great. Katamari? Fucking dope. But what if there was something even more pure? Something even more rage-inducing. An even weirder fever dream. I want the best ball game ever made. Monkey Ball! You will fail, and you will like it.
And I just eat it, knowing nothing, ever, thanking nobody for the privilege.
You will not know how it feels to go batshit insane listening to the 700th time this goddamn narrator says, Ballast. But you will inevitably power through and enjoy this video game. Why? Because it's one of the most satisfying gaming experiences ever crafted. Also, I have a gun. Also, it pairs well with about 4 IPAs. Out goes Atari, and in comes Sega. They have a banana that's screwed into a cabinet. They have a crack team of hardware experts supporting a platform called Naomi. They have some guy who's really good at making fast game engines for shit like Daytona USA, as well as distinctive ears? What? Monkey Ball rolled into Japanese arcades in the sizzling year 2000. Players used a banana-shaped joystick to rotate the game world itself. Rather unintuitive to explain, your inputs don't actually control the main monkey ball. Rotating the game world just so happens to make your monkey roll in that direction. This allows for some extremely technical mechanics and is immensely satisfying to master. Stages go from speeding along a track to maneuvering super tiny moving platforms like some kind of Bubsy nightmare. And even though Americans don't know what the fuck a fruit is, it was all brought to you by banana conglomerate Dole. Every single banana in this game has the Dole logo slapped on it. Makes my eyes water imagining the kind of payday I would have gotten if Amusement Vision licensed my eggplant instead. Not many Monkey Ball machines were made, as Sega was likely banking for the legacy of this game to be established on console instead. Being developed on the Naomi platform, it shared a lot of guts with the Dreamcast, so it seemed like a perfect fit for a direct port. If it weren't for the fact that Sony bent every console maker over a barrel and infinitely violated them with the release of the PS2, like my heart was violated when my ex-fiancé didn't give me back the engagement ring stating, "I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that request." Fucking bitch. Instead, Amusement Vision ported Monkey Ball to the Nintendo GameCube in a matter of a couple months with a few graphical enhancements, and the rest was history. Super Monkey Ball graced players in late 2001 and was a marked success. It never sold over 1 million copies, but almost nothing did because of something PS2 something ChatGPT girlfriend. We got mini games, party games. What's the fucking difference? Amusement Visions. What's the diff? Beginner, advanced, expert, extra, and master stages. This is nearly as pure a ball game as Marble Madness. Pick a mode and see how far you can roll the ball without dying. What, you can't beat the master stages without using save states in the Dolphin emulator? What are you? A wet, blithering pussy? You are not a man. Unless you can fire up expert mode, beat all 50 stages, all 10 extra stages, and all 10 master stages without dying. You didn't see that. Focus. Sweat. Nerves. Micro adjustments. Don't fall. Focus. Anxiety. Don't fall. Sweat. Tongue out. Tongue in. Don't fall. Focus. Super Monkey Ball is worth the work and effort, but at times is more frustrating than getting stomped in competitive multiplayer, or dropping a freshly baked pizza on the ground, or being born. Look at this monkey. Look at this fucking monkey. He's just laughing at you. If you start playing expert mode blind, you will get got rather immediately. You can't cheese this game, except for when you can, which feels like jizzing on 1,000 angels when it works. You gotta get good, as the people who fucking stand for Dark Souls say, and to do that, you gotta take the hint that the game mode options lay themselves out as, and start with the beginner mode. Rather blissful and unassumingly challenging for brand new players, the beginner stages in Super Monkey Ball are just as iconic as the expert stages. Being a pretty pure and excellent ball game, the main reward is mastering the game's mechanics to a degree that pulling off some of the later expert stages on the first try feels nothing short of euphoric. After Marble Madness, Super Monkey Ball assumed the role of the definitive ball game, building upon and tightening the type of experience that Marble Madness delivered. It may be too hard for its own good, seriously fuck the master stages, but it is iconic, and I'm sure nearly no one who likes a good ball game would deny that. Not only could you enjoy playing Super Monkey Ball whipping your controller back and forth across the room screaming slurs alone, but you could also play Monkey Target, Monkey Billiards, Monkey Fight, Monkey Golf, Monkey Bowling, and Monkey Race with your friends. And if we're being honest with ourselves though, Jeremy. The one we all played, whipping our controllers back and forth across the room screaming slurs at each other the most, was Monkey Target. This game single-handedly taught 8-year-olds everywhere the laws of aerodynamics. And by taught, I mean didn't explain a single fucking thing and said good luck, fucko. This game mode is amazing to play with your drunk friends together in your early 30s, but this mode was nigh impossible for me to understand as a child. But that's Super Monkey Ball. It doesn't hold your hand, because that would be weird. Stop touching me, stranger danger, I'm this many. The pure resentment and seething hatred for your friend who lands on a high-scoring space. The audacity. In my house? Mom! The other multiplayer modes offer a good amount of fun as well. While not reaching the friendship-ending highs as something like Mario Party, the turn-based pass-the-controller gameplay is great for a gathering. It is, without a doubt, a complete package. All right, guys. Super Monkey Ball was great. Players love it. Critics love it. And they want more. Who's got ideas? Story mode! Huh? Story mode? You mean like a weird linear campaign with a really weird villain monkey that's romantically interested in the female monkey and tries to kill the main monkey to forcefully marry the female monkey? Oh, sorry, please finish taking your bong rip. Super Monkey Ball 2, it's got a story mode, it's got a story mode. They got the sequel out the door this time, unlike Atari, so there's some props there. Released just 1 year later, the gameplay is still pretty stellar, and even though they tacked on a story, it has some of the most iconic stages of all the Monkey Ball games. We've got all the features from the first game. Challenge modes, multiplayer modes with some new additions, extra stages, master stages, the works. It is still a complete package. The story, though, oh boy, the story. The game is structured in 10 worlds with 10 stages each, adding up to 100 stages. The villain monkey, Dr. Badboon, comes in, steals all the bananas, and wants the girl monkey, Mimi, to marry him Princess Peach style. What can only be described as a bunch of fucking random monkey hijinks, or monkey business, Dr. Badboon resorts to charging a laser to change the taste of all the bananas left in the world to that of curry. Admittedly, it's funny if your delirium has reached peak irony, but this story should have been scrapped. I don't give a shit about these monkeys' lives, their relationships, or the world-ending stakes of maybe banana curry. As a kid, Super Monkey Ball 2 immediately lost me with this. I didn't understand why they tacked on a story, and truth be told, it was just an instant turnoff from my kid brain. Ultimately, I chose to just chuck it in the Blockbuster return slot and re-rent Mario Power Tennis for the third time. Okay, so the story is weird, but the gameplay is what matters, right? I bet the stages are better than ever! Super Monkey Ball 2 features some truly great stages, but also stands to irritate and mindfuck you as hard as possible. Some are pure tests of mental fortitude, some are easy filler, and some are random leaps of faith. While the game features deterministic physics, it's your inputs and your inputs alone that lead you to the goal after all, a good amount of these stages feel luck-based. The game adds switches that change various things about the stages, such as speed or activating platforms, and you know what? I'll just say it. These switches aren't fun. They don't add any enjoyment and are annoying to activate. Trying to roll over these switches too quick will cause you to roll right over them, so you gotta kiss these fuckers just right under the moonlight or they won't text you back even though you texted them from the 50 fresh Google Voice numbers you generated in case they may have blocked your number or something insane like that. They'd never do anything like that. They'd never do anything like that! Most stages also have these insanely annoying lead-in ramps that take like 5 seconds to cross, which is annoying if the stage has time-based switch platforming and you already have to wait 20 seconds for the stage to line up just right and then die. So you start over rolling over this lead-in ramp, hit a switch, wait 20 seconds, die, roll over the lead-in ramp, die, roll over the lead-in ramp, grab the pills, choke them down. Even though Super Monkey Ball is supposed to be this tight and refined experience, a lot of these stages feel like filler. You will have just completed the Satan's prickly wiggly retractable penis stage and then immediately roll into afternoon cookies at Grandma's fairy tale gumdrop mansion. Now, granted, Super Monkey Ball 2 is a competent sequel and definitely a good game overall. Sega didn't necessarily find out yet, as they took a few more years after the release of this game to fuck around, so I gotta give credit where credit is due. If you like the first game, check out the second game. Atari ain't got shit on Sega. We've got a good ball game franchise, probably the first one ever released. We can't possibly fuck this up. Let's put out some mobile ports, cool. Running this game on a Game Boy Advance sure was impressive for the time. N-Gage? Why not? It's not like this isn't the year 2003, where we are pretty much fine with broken tech ecosystems, just trying to get our fucking iPods to sync properly. Rewrap the first games for PS2 and Xbox, okay? Those Nintendo adults, slightly more human than Disney adults, have had enough playtime. It's time for the 13-year-olds screaming the N-word in Halo 2 at minimum audio bitrate to have their shot now too. You know what? Throw it on the DS. My cousin's brain age score has hit a new all-time low, okay? And the dogs and Nintendogs can't fill the hole in his iron lung. All right. We're Sega. We know a good ball game. Let's put out a mainline sequel. Let's make a really good game. Here's what we won't do. Make some kind of weird open world quest with ugly animation, a weird camera, and slap the word adventure on it. Super Monkey Ball Adventure dribbled out of Sega's underpants into the hands of ball game lovers everywhere for the PS2, GameCube, and PSP, and was responsible for the death of millions by way of blunt force emotional trauma. Some people, like me, may have forgiven Super Monkey Ball 2's story mode since it was mainly just main stage content stitched together with cutscenes, but that was clearly laying the foundation for this god-awful mishmash piece of shit. Development was handed over to Traveler's Tales. You know, vanguards of good video game controls. I'm now going to show a video game on the screen now that Traveler's Tales has developed.
Go!
Main hub worlds with missions and main challenge stage level selects ripped straight out of Crash Bandicoot does not a Super Monkey Ball game make. No love put into the challenge mode, no thought put into navigating the open world hubs, no thought at all. Who sat down and thought this was a good idea? Greg? Fuck Greg, that guy's an asshole! 5 months later, we got a Super Monkey Ball game exclusive for the Nintendo Wii. And since you're a bottom-feeding toddler that only babbles in half-complete sentences, we put guardrails up on every stage. Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, the true heat death of the Super Monkey Ball universe. The biggest, most jizziest bulldozer. Sega took the reins back for this one and tended to those cute, defenseless monkeys like Lenny from Of Mice and Men. This game is exclusively motion controlled with the Wiimote. That's it. That's all. You should be able to feel how bad that sucks in your head. Boss fights? Motion controls? Fuck it. I'm done with this franchise. This is no longer a pure ball game. This is a gimmick. The flame died, squandered, soiled it. We got mobile games for a bunch of different platforms, a weird game for the Wii balance board, just more gimmicks, but nothing to really sink your teeth into. Sega was done making original Monkey Ball games. And here's a list of things that Sega was not done doing. Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD. Dribbled out of Sega's underpants. Fuck it, I don't care! I'm laboring to write this paragraph. Laboring! Sega symbolically killed Super Monkey Ball with this game in 2006, and they decided to re-release it. It heightened my cholesterol. The little hope in my heart that I had for this franchise was shot in the back of its cute, innovative, metaphorical head. They re-released the game without motion controls and put Sonic in it. That's it. All right, sorry for my behavior. I'm being too harsh. Let me take a swig of this. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Okay. I care a lot about this game, okay? I care a lot, okay? Here's a list of things I have to say about it. It doesn't stack up to the originals and was only released for the fucking abhorrent and shameful reason of holding the series hostage for further development, guilt-tripping fans if it didn't sell well enough, and implying the franchise would be old Yeller. And you know what? Good job, pigs. You ate the slop so Sega could release another stain on the Super Monkey Ball legacy. Pat yourselves on the snout because it's time to oink oink straight to the seventh circle of physics and camera control hell. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Dribbled out. This game sucks. Fuck, it sucks. It sucks. Fuck. It fucks all the Fred fucks from the AVGN archive. But you know what? I'll be nice and lend you a polite overview. I'm not angry anymore. Okay? Here I go. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania was released for all major console platforms in 2021 and is a full-blown remake of Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2, the universally agreed upon best games in the franchise. While the game has a great presentation, great music, and great menus, the game is not without its faults. Clearly, Sega wished for this to be a love letter to the Super Monkey Ball franchise, but that wish was thwarted by two things: the controls and the camera. 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 Try completing any of the master stages. Literally any of them. Try having fun. You can't, because the camera has the vague suggestion of controllability, like the stickiness of a strip of halfway felled Velcro, and the controls have the reliability of your vacant father. In order to beat a lot of the stages from the first game, you needed to perform micro adjustments, twitch-like movements, and precise navigation. That's a little fucking difficult when the main input, the left analog stick, only moves the camera under a certain threshold, and then controls the game world after breaching said threshold. Maybe this is some type of programming limitation with the Unity engine? Oh yeah, this game was made with Unity. Lol. Also, the world rotates more slowly for some fucking reason, making certain snap inputs basically impossible because the entire game world is literally less responsive than 20 years prior. I forgot to mention that with the Banana Blitz HD remake, the controls are exactly the same as this, but that game's stages don't call for the level of precision that Monkey Ball 1 and 2 stages do, so it wasn't the hugest point of contention. Monkey Target is completely broken, so put your beer back in the fridge, Matt.
Matt, they fucked it up.
Yeah.
They fucked up Monkey Target. The physics are all fucked up. They're all fucked. They didn't even just... There's no point in drinking. The spill. They're what? The spill. What spilled?
You know why he spilled? Because Monkey Target's fucked up.
He doesn't get it.
What?
I brought beer.
You did bring beer.
But you spilled it because fucking Monkey Target's fucked up.
Take the beer back into the fridge, Matt. Glaringly unignorable, Banana Mania fails at being a Monkey Ball game sadly and solely due to the controls. The harder stages border on nearly unplayable and are a complete farce. If this game didn't completely fail the players on input, we could have gotten some amazing follow-up content in the form of DLC, separate games, whatever. The potential for Monkey Ball is still massive, and all everyone wants is a focus on the main stages, fun challenge modes, and fun multiplayer. Big ups and major bonus if the game fucking functions on a fundamental level, which I think Banana Mania fails to do so. Sega have not been the best ball handlers, so to speak, so they deserve a good smack to their own. It is frustrating to see an admittedly dumb game series you're passionate about be subject to this amount of wasted potential. And this is where the series pathetically remains today. However, that doesn't erase the undeniable legacy of the first two games. Super Monkey Ball and Super Monkey Ball 2 remain two of the best and most addictive ball games ever made. Sure, they're not immune to some fun, lighthearted complaining master's criticism, sorry, but they are undeniably amazing ball games. Monkey Ball is the king of the ball game, and the king of squandering it. So, what have we learned? Ball games are best games. Ball games are imperfect. Ball game publishers will fumble, but no other game invites the type of self-improvement like a good ball game. Ball games are not infected with battle passes, competitive matchmaking, or microtransactions. They are a pure experience for any gamer, young or old, dumb or smart, fat or even more fat. A great ball game always satisfies. They are found on websites, your phone, and every console out there. What happens when you take an object at the core of something fun, like a schoolyard, and write rules around it? With this sentiment, you may create the next timeless game. Who knows? It doesn't even have to be a ball. Maybe it shouldn't be. Games that start with something at the core are more focused. Call of Duty games don't start with a gun anymore. They start with a storefront. Limitations inspire creativity. I think there's still more creativity to be mined with balls. I want heart. I want simplicity. I want more ball games.